A month of Sundays. Hello, America. My name is Greg here in Nebraska, and this is Datanimity. It is Thursday, August 1st, 2024. Last week, while working on another video, I used a quote from an old Don Henley song. After finishing my video, I went back and read the lyrics from that song and was reminded of what a powerful message it had. The song is called A Month of Sundays, and it talks about changing times and the fear of the direction in which things are heading. The lyrics seem rather apropos these days. After all, during this 2024 presidential election, there are millions of Americans who feel despair, frustration, even maybe a little anger. So many people these days struggle with anxiety, worry, and a level of uncertainty that we as Americans have never really experienced before. Right? Obviously, the United States has had to weather some pretty extreme challenges over the years, including 2 world wars and a Great Depression, to name a few. However, while those may have brought America to her knees, prior generations always had one major advantage that seems to be missing in modern America. It's called unity. Sure, it's hard to imagine living in a time when the entire world was at war, not once, but twice. And it's equally hard to imagine living in a time when 25% of the American workforce was unemployed and people struggled to feed their families. But even with those challenges back then, we were all Americans, we were all one big family, and we were all one united country. Not so much so in 2024, right? I would like to read to you the lyrics from this song. First, though, please let me say what a pleasure it was to rediscover this gem of a song, one that I haven't thought about in over 25 years. This song is from Don Henley's second solo album, Building the Perfect Beast, from 1984, one of the great albums of the 1980s, and the song is entitled A Month of Sundays. It goes like this. I used to work for Harvester. I used to use my hands. I used to make the tractors and the combines that plowed and harvested this great land. Now I see my handiwork on the block everywhere I turn, and I see the clouds cross the weathered faces, and I watch the harvest burn. I quit the plant back in '57, had some time for farming then. Banks back then was lending money. The banker was the farmer's friend. And I've seen the dog days and the dusty days, late spring snow and early fall sleet. I've held the leather reins in my hands and felt the soft ground under my feet. Between the hot, dry weather and the taxes and the Cold War, it's been hard to make ends meet, but I always put the clothes on our backs, but I always get the shoes on our feet. My grandson, he comes home from college. He says, "We get the government that we deserve." My son-in-law just shakes his head and said, "That little punk, he never had to serve." And I sit here in the shadows of suburbia and I look across these empty fields. I sit here in the earshot of the bypass, and all night I listen to the rushing of the wheels. The big boys, they all got computers, got incorporated too. Me, I just know how to raise things. That's all I ever knew. Now it all comes down to numbers. Now I'm glad that I have quit. Folks these days just don't do nothing simply for the love of it. I went into the town on the 4th of July, watched him parade past the Union Jack, watched him break out the brass and beat on the drum, 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And I saw a sign on Easy Street said, "Be prepared to stop. Pray for the independent little men. I don't see next year's crop." And I sit here on the back porch in the twilight, and I hear the crickets hum, and I sit and watch the lightning in the distance, but the showers never come. I sit here and I listen to the wind blow. I sit here and I rub my hands. I sit here and listen to the clock strike, and I wonder if I'll see my companion again. I understand that a lot of you watching this video right now are feeling anxiety, despair, frustration, anger, even hopelessness. I get it. And I feel your pain, trust me, I really do. But my fellow Americans, do not, I repeat, do not give up hope. America and the American people have been through so many struggles since this country was founded. What kinds of struggles? Well, how about these? The American Revolution, creating the Declaration of Independence, writing the U.S. Constitution, slavery, the Civil War, including the battles of Antietam and Gettysburg, the Emancipation Proclamation and the freeing of the American slaves, President Lincoln's assassination, World War I, women given the right to vote, the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, the attack on Pearl Harbor, World War II, the D-Day invasion at Normandy, the atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Korean War, the Red Scare, the Civil Rights Movement, Jim Crow laws, Brown versus the Board of Education, Emmett Till's murder, Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott, the Selma March and voting rights movement, the Cuban Missile Crisis, assassination of John F. Kennedy, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, the Vietnam War, the Kent State Massacre, 4 dead in Ohio, Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The Cold War, bomb shelters in America's backyards, Watergate, Nixon's resignation, 444 days of the Iran hostage situation, nuclear proliferation, the bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding, the Gulf War, the Oklahoma City bombing, September 11th, the war in Afghanistan, the Second Gulf War, the housing bubble, the 2008 financial crisis, the Great Recession, Osama bin Laden finally being killed, the Charlottesville riots, the pandemic, over 1.2 million Americans dying from COVID-19, the siege on the U.S. Capitol and the January 6th insurrection, attempts to overturn the results of the 2020 U.S. presidential election, and so much more. Like the main character in Don Henley's A Month of Sundays, a lot of you may reminisce about the good old days and feel despair and uncertainty about how rapidly our country and world are changing, not to mention the direction things are heading. Again, do not despair. What got former generations through what seemed like insurmountable odds was the fact that everyone joined together. What makes America great is that we are the United States of America. When the American people put aside their differences and come together and focus on a common goal, a goal that includes all Americans, then there is nothing that we as Americans cannot do. On Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, you have a chance to participate in the Great American Experiment by voting and making sure that your voice is heard. Don't like the direction America is heading? Then vote. See problems that upset you? Then vote. See injustices that bother you? Then vote. Worry about American democracy? Then vote. As the lyrics in the song go, we get the government we deserve. Unhappy with your elected officials, the government, and the candidates? Then get the facts and be informed on the issues facing America and vote. In closing, thank you for your time. God bless you and your family. God bless America, and I'll see you in the next video. Good night, and don't forget to vote this upcoming Tuesday, November 5th, 2024.